I'd like to call to order the Town of McCandless meeting January 13th, 2020. The invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilmember Mazur.
Dear wise and loving Father, first let me say thank you on behalf of all who have gathered here today. Thank you for life itself and for our good health. I'm asking you would graciously grant us wisdom to govern amid conflicting interests and issues of our times, a sense of the welfare and true needs of our people, a keen thirst for justice and rightness, confidence in what is good and fitting, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement, personal peace in their lives and joy to their task. In your most blessed name, I pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A couple of announcements. I'd like to remind the public that our meeting format has changed. So every meeting is now a voting meeting, and every meeting, at the end of the meeting, there will be an opportunity for non-agenda public comment. So that's something new. Number 5, is there a motion to approve the minutes from December?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Are there any changes or amendments to the minutes? There are two that under the regular business meeting, the minutes on page 4, the votes, the Northland Library vote was a roll call vote, and it was not unanimous.
First one was not.
And both of those candidates were not unanimous.
Okay.
So,
We'll double check.
okay. Were there anything else? That's all? No. All right, hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the minutes from November indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. We will now open up a public hearing on the request of McCandless Specialty GP LLC for transfer of a liquor license number R18031 from Dawes Restaurant LLC 200 Bondura Street in Munhall, PA 15120, and to its facility located at 5300 Corbett Drive, Pittsburgh, PA 15237. For this public hearing, there will be a court reporter that is present, so all comments will be recorded. This is an open public hearing and has been advertised as such. Bruce, do you want to?
So we have with us tonight Charles Caputo, who's the attorney representing the applicant, who I believe is from Big Burrito, and they just for everybody's information, I believe the restaurant has been publicly announced as being Alta Via, which is it'll be their second restaurant when it gets built. And at this point, I'll turn it over to Charlie. Is that how you go? Bye, Charlie.
Charlie, thanks. Madam President, before the applicant starts, can I just go to the procedure a little bit?
That would be perfect.
Great. Charlie, you can go ahead and stand up there. The way this will work is the applicant will have an opportunity to make a presentation, to have any witnesses testify on the behalf of the applicant. And when the applicant's presentation is done, counsel will have an opportunity to ask any questions that you might have of the applicant or their counsel. After that's completed, we'll have an opportunity for the public to speak. We'll start with any members of the public who are in favor of the application. And after that, we'll call up any members of the public who are against the application. Once that's completed, we can close the public hearing. We'll send the court reporter on her way, and I think council is scheduled to take action on this later on in the meeting. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Robb. My name is Charlie Caputo. I'm with Caputo Law Office. We are small local law firm that specializes in beverage alcohol work. We are here on behalf of our client, McCandless Specialty LP. I do have with me a representative of the company. Josh Klein is here. In the event that there are any questions that I'm not able to answer, if the council requires any additional information beyond what I present. McCandless Specialty LP is a Pennsylvania limited partnership. It is part of the Big Burrito Group of restaurants. Big Burrito Group operates a number of Mad Mex restaurants in the Pittsburgh area as well as elsewhere in the state. And they have sort of a secondary group of restaurants that have been growing that are referred to as their specialty concepts, and that's how you get the name McCandless Specialty LP. They have a couple restaurants in the Pittsburgh area, 11, Kaya, Soba, and they have an Altavia that's located in Fox Chapel. This proposed restaurant will be the second Altavia that the group is looking to open. The anticipated opening date is about a year from now, next January. The location where they're looking to put this restaurant in is the former TGI Fridays site at Corporate Drive, 5300 Corporate Drive. The restaurant is a freestanding building. It's currently unoccupied. The plan is to tear that building down and reconstruct a new building, which will have McCandless Specialty as a tenant and possibly another restaurant or other use tenant in the other portion of the building. At this point, I believe the landlord is still going through their zoning approvals. I think they might be at the Planning Commission level at this point. So, of course, the project is contingent on them getting all the approvals necessary to complete the building. We are trying to get ahead of the liquor license process because we do have contingencies in the lease, and it can take several months once we get approval from the municipality to go before the Liquor Control Board and seek their approval of the license. And we would be doing that, obviously, on a pre-construction basis. Okay, the license that we have identified for this location is coming from Munhall Borough. It's a non-affiliated third party. We were able to secure an agreement for the license through the assistance of a broker. The former restaurant that was operated in Munhall is not affiliated in any way with the McCandless Specialty or Big Burrito Group. The Altavia concept itself is, I don't know if it's been formally identified as this, but I've eaten there a couple times, and I consider it sort of a twist between an Italian cuisine with like a Northern California flair. I don't know. At least that's my interpretation of it. The food's very good. They have a number of homemade pastas. Fresh, they use a wood fire oven for a lot of their foods, fresh desserts. They have, in this particular restaurant, it's going to be a little bit bigger than the original Altavia in Fox Chapel. So they plan to have a dedicated pasta room, which I've never seen anything like that, but it is exciting. Sounds like it'll be something exciting for the area that already has a number of restaurants, so something a little bit different. The focus of the operation will be on the restaurant, but they do believe as a restaurant that they need to have a liquor license to be competitive with other restaurants, and it is part of the model that the group has had. They have liquor licenses at all of their restaurants currently in Pennsylvania, and they have a stellar operating history with the Liquor Control Board. The restaurant is expected to be about 5,000 square feet, give or take a little bit, depending on how the building ends up being constructed. They plan to have seating for about 140 people, plus bar seating of maybe another 40 people. And the current plan is to have a patio that'll most likely be enclosed with some maybe outdoor, like removable windows or something like that, but the subject to getting the necessary zoning approvals, they would have some type of outdoor or seasonal patio with enclosures. The area around the proposed restaurants, by my driving around, seems to be, for the most part, commercial in nature. We don't think that adding a restaurant with a liquor license would be detrimental in any way to the neighborhood or the area. There has been a restaurant with a liquor license there, that being TGI Fridays previously and for a number of years. We expect that the restaurant will employ approximately 60 employees on a part-time or full-time basis. And our plan is to come before the council, and if we're successful in obtaining a resolution, we would promptly move and submit the application with the Liquor Control Board and hope to have this part of the process wrapped up sometime in the spring. And at that point, I would field any questions that the council or anybody in attendance may have, if that's how you want to do it.
There's nothing from Mr. Kirk?
Well, I'm not familiar with the liquor licensing process, but can you tell me why you're seeking a transfer instead of an outright acquisition of a license?
Sure. The way it works is the licenses are specific to municipality. You can move licenses throughout a county, but anytime you go over municipal borders, you have to first request a public hearing before the receiving municipality and ask them for a formal resolution in a forum like this, which allows residents of the municipality an opportunity to speak on the request. So that is something that's been written into the liquor code, and it is a first step in the process we're required to go through. The LCB requires us to attach that resolution to our application when we submit it. The only way that we could avoid finding a license somewhere and bringing it in would be to find one that is already in McCandless. If we could find one in the town, then we would not have to go through this process. And we did try to do that, including trying to obtain the license that TGI Fridays had there previously. I reached out to their counsel, and he said the license was not available. So either they were using it somewhere else or selling it to somebody else. But we always try to find licenses that are already in the municipality to avoid this step in the process. And when we're unable to do that, then we look outside. And that's what we did in this case.
Is that license coming from this same group?
No, it's
Completely different restaurant?
Correct.
The bar that you said is in the restaurant, is that, will there be food served at that bar, or will that just be a?
Yes, no, there will be food service at the bar. The bar would not be separate and apart from the restaurant. It is an intricate part of the business. It is integrated into the restaurant. There's seating around it. There'd be bar seating as well as high tops and booth seating in the bar area. And the restaurant itself, including the bar, the anticipated hours of operation are roughly, and it is a year away, but projections and based upon other establishments that they operate, 11 a.m. until about midnight. And they do plan on being open for lunch and dinner 7 days a week.
Okay, if there's no other comments from council, we can ask any members of the public who would like to testify in favor of the application to please come up, state your name, and spell your last name if you could for the court reporter. Seeing none. Is there anyone who would like to testify in opposition to the application? Madam President, it does not appear that the public is going to be testifying today, so you can ask for a motion to close the hearing at this point, unless there's further questions or comments from council.
Wait, do you have some?
Rita Martin, I just have a question since your specialty. Rita Martin. Mm-hmm. Is that all you need? Okay, I just have a question since you are an expert on liquor licenses. Is there a limit to how many a municipality can have?
There is no limit. It's,
Okay.
there is a quota that is, and once that quota is exceeded, then that's when it is up to the municipality to vote on whether to accept more. But there is no cap.
Okay, but there is a quota. Okay,
Correct.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Does anybody up here know what the quota is for McCandless, or?
I do know that when we did this a couple years ago, we were over our quota.
Oh,
I
that's
could say
interesting.
Mr. Caputo would know better than me, but I think almost every municipality in Allegheny County is over their quota.
Yeah, especially, yeah. Sure.
Would this not take the place of TGI Friday?
But we don't know what happened to that license.
So you're thinking it could be still in McCandless?
It could be in storage, or you can bank these licenses as well. It could have been sold elsewhere, but it really has no bearing on this transfer.
Any other comments from council? Any other questions? Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is now adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want a proposed resolution?
Thank you.
Pardon me?
Do you
Madam
want a
Report
sample
Reporter.
resolution?
We have.
Will you pass these down to her? She let me on. Thank you. They're hers. The court reporter. Thank you, dear. Number 7, reports of committees. Reports of the Finance and Personnel Committee.
Item number 1, review the checklisting number 1 dated December 5, 2019 through December 31, 2019, totaling $1,807,457.74, as submitted to each member of council and posted on bulletin board and town website.
Is there any comments from any town council or any questions about the list of bills? I noticed there was some engineering costs at 14501 for Park Edge. What are those for? That's what it said.
There should have been escrow costs.
Is it? Please forgive me.
If the account number is 01248, it's an escrow account.
It's 14501 is where it is on the bills.
Yes, that came out of their escrow account.
Okay, thank you. I noticed on 14520, and the answer is probably going to be the same on this, on 14533, it was engineering costs there. Are those?
Yes. You're speaking to the Trans Associates?
Yes.
Those are also coming out of escrow accounts for those two.
Okay, all right. I didn't know how to tell that on
Yeah.
there.
If you go to the account description or the account number, if it starts with a 01248, that is an escrow account. All the 248s.
248s?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That was the only question I had. You may have to remind me of that again.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Any other questions from anyone, council? Okay.
Item number 2, review the monthly financial summary and dashboard report. Tricia?
Good evening, council. You have before you the preliminary financial report for December of 2019. This is, as I said, the preliminary report. We are in the midst of the 60-day accrual for revenue, as well as waiting for additional invoices for 2019, as well as the audit. In addition to that, we will probably have some adjustments in the first budget amendment to compensate for items that will be carried forward to 2020. So that initial revenue over expenditures will be adjusted as the months go on. We are over 100% of revenue at this point, according to budget for the 2019 year, which is great. And we're about 93% of expenditures budget. which is a little bit higher than last year. However, the transfer for CIP is higher this year, based off of our fund balance policy. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I've said it before, but I appreciate how this was laid out, and I really like the summary. It's a nice job. We'll go over these every month, so if anyone in council has questions, I know we have some new council members, so if you have some questions about this, please feel free to ask Trish, and then once everybody's comfortable with this, we can just go to questions.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Anyone? Anything for
Any
Trish?
comments? Anyone? Okay, item number 3, review the application of Ralph D. Sansell to acquire vacant lots 1348-R-190 adjacent to their property on Forest Oak Drive under the Allegheny County Vacant Property Recovery Program as adopted by the town.
So this is a really nice, Allegheny County and the Redevelopment Authority of Allegheny County have this great vacant property program. So this is some property, it has to be adjacent to your property, there's criteria that you have to meet. And this particular property was not being maintained. And so Legacy Enterprise was interested in accruing this property and improving the aesthetics of the community. Is there anything else you wanted to say?
This was an orphan piece of property from the original Forest Oaks development that never ended up being part of the HOA property. So Mr. Sansell, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, is wanting to acquire that so that he can maintain the property.
I have one question. How is the vacant lot zoned? Is it zoned the same as Mr. Sansell's current parcel? Because this adoption will make it part of, I believe, his current parcel, his adjoining parcel, if you will. Is there any issue there?
I'm looking through here, I don't remember it.
I can't remember what it was zoned in. It was, all that property, including Ralph's, Mr. Sansell's property and Forest Oaks, was under concurrent ownership at one point and Ray Austin owned all of that. It was a church when Mr. Austin acquired it. It was owned institutional, and we rezoned it to commercial so that they could use it for what Ralph's using it for now. This piece lies between what's now Forest Oaks, the road. It's on the opposite side of the Forest Oaks Drive. So, and it's immediately adjacent to Ralph's property. I believe what he wants to do is maintain it as a buffer. So it should not have an impact on the use at all. I'm drawing a blank on what the zoning map looks like. I go check it out in probably 15 seconds if you want me to.
I don't remember seeing it.
I am only interested in protecting the folks in Forest Oaks with that buffer. I mean, I know his intention, and I know it's honorable, but I also know the property gets sold over the years.
I'll
and-
check it real quick. For some reason, I'm drawing a blank on it.
This is up near Chadwick, right?
It sits behind
Behind-
Chadwick,
behind
right
Chadwick.
right along the Forest Oaks Drive, the first
Okay.
drive going in.
I didn't see it in the application what the zone was.
It is zoned multifamily. But again, he can't use it for anything other than his buffer zone.
It's too small.
I believe they'll be protected.
So you believe that the adjoining residents will be protected?
Yes.
And this won't ever impact them?
It should not, no.
Okay.
You know, make sure that gets passed on to my successor.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing that up. That's a really good point.
Okay, item number 4, seminars and conferences.
The only thing that I wanted to mention to you is just a reminder that the Allegheny League of Municipalities Conference is the first week of April at Seven Springs. Anybody who wishes to attend, please let myself or Marie know. If you haven't done so already. Second through the fifth. I couldn't remember the exact dates on the top of my head. But in any case, we'll make those arrangements for you if you have an interest.
Okay. Anything else?
Public comment?
Public comments?
And this would be comment on the finance and personnel matters, the items that we just reviewed. All right. Hearing none, reports of the zoning committee. Notification that a public hearing is scheduled for the meeting of town council on March 9th, 2020, to review a rezoning application for the property at 8500 Thompson Run Road, parcel ID number 717J216. The present zoning district is C7, that's an office building district. Proposed zoning to a R3, which is a townhouse and garden apartment district. And that public hearing will be on March the 9th. Any questions about that? Pretty straightforward.
It is, Madam President, I would just comment, because I've seen this in the past, where we've downzoned a property which on its face seems very good. What happens though sometimes to adjacent commercial property owners or adjacent property owners that are zoned in another way is the new residents are impacted by their operations, and it becomes problematic for the property owners. I've seen this with residential property owners adjacent to some of our agricultural districts. I've seen it also in places where we put residential, and so I would just ask to make sure that those property owners are notified of this downzoning so that they can make sure that they're all aware and can provide testimony if there's a concern.
The property around that is multifamily also.
On the one side, in reviewing it, it appears that there's
And then
residential.
commercial.
It's all commercial?
Well, there's commercial on one side, multifamily residential
Right.
to the
And my
back.
concern is the commercial operations that
agreed.
may be,
Agreed. It could become
may be
a
viewed as
conflict.
a conflict, yes, and I want to protect, they were there first, I
Yes.
want to make sure. Thank you.
We will be notifying everybody. There's a requirement in our zoning ordinance that we notify everybody of rezoning, adjacent property owners of rezoning.
And that will be March 9th.
I have a question on that. Curious, it's zoning for multifamily and apartments. Will that require more lighting or more signaling? Because that area does get very congested on a typical afternoon. I know, like, for example, Bennington Woods needed to make a right turn only onto Thompson. Will that sort of thing be part of the plan as well?
It will be looked at as a possibility. At this point, we're just looking at the rezoning. No matter what goes in there, when it was the YWCA, it was a significant problem because everybody was coming and going at once, generally speaking.
Exactly.
Here, the maximum number of trips, and I'm not a traffic engineer, but we asked that question, and it was stated that it would be, I think, 1.5 trips at peak hour. I don't believe that, which means all 28 people would be leaving at once during there. So I think that it's probably not at peak hour. But that's something that we have to, that will require a county HOP and a county review, but we will be looking at that during the site plan review.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? We'll get more information about that in March. Review the preliminary and final approval of a subdivision application for the plan known as Parkview Heights Plan of Lots Number 2, re-subdivision of lots 30 and 31 for Peter J. Double located at 1890 Arden Drive, parcel number ID parcel 828K182, as per project number 25459.01, page 1, prepared by Trant Corporation, dated December 16th, 2019, with the latest revision being January 10th, 2020.
This parcel is in the southeast part of town. It lies between Duncan Avenue and Sample Road on Arden Drive. Down in the area about right here, if we're looking off the map, is a sanitary sewage package plant, treatment plant. In fact, that's one of the first plants I went to when I came here. I said, how could you possibly have a treatment plant immediately adjacent to all these residences? And there was no odor. So it was amazing that our sanitary authority is able to achieve that. And we're looking actually at changing that plant to a pump station. We're going to be getting rid of the treatment facility there and using it primarily as a pump station. So there'll be very little impact of this package plant on this property, of the treatment plant of this property. So the proposal is this property is now 1.1 acres, about 1.17 acres, and it's proposed to be divided into 2 lots in the R2 zone district. Each lot is required to be 12,000 square feet. This lot, the main lot, will be about 0.65 acres. This lot will be about 0.5 acres, about a half acre, a little bit larger than a half acre. The requirement is also that there be 90 foot of frontage at the building line. In this case, the recorded building line is 50 feet back from the road. That was a previously recorded building line. They're not changing that. We now require a 35-foot building line. The lot is hampered by a lot of easements. We have an easement through here. There is an abandoned easement down through here, and there's a sanitary easement back through here. 40-foot setbacks are here and here. 10-foot for a one-story dwelling are here, and then of course back here. So we're left with a large building lot. You're going to have to suit the house to the remnant lot or to the buildable area. This house sits way back. It's non-conforming in its setback, and also has a non-conforming pool. It's taking up a lot of the area already. So the new line is forced to go around this pool. They couldn't make it it's an odd-shaped lot to begin with, but they could not make it a straight line through here. It was suggested by the Planning Commission that they look at moving this line over here so that it has the appearance of being so that the frontage appears to be closer to equal. That does not seem to be a viable option at this point, and they do meet the requirements of the ordinance with the 90 foot of frontage at the building line. There is one remaining problem. They had planned on using their access being the easement, or the property of the sanitary authority. The sanitary authority denied that request. So what's holding this up and why we can't vote on this tonight is that they are going to have to show that they will have access to the property. So they're working right now on devising how driveway will work on here. We don't need the specific driveway. We just have to know that this property can be built upon and have safe access. And that's about it. It does meet all the other requirements at this time. We have tonight with us Mr. and Mrs. Double. I should have said that it's their son that owns this property. They want to be near their son, and they are also looking to downsize, so they're looking to build a home immediately adjacent to their son. So that was the purpose of this subdivision.
Bruce, we're not up against any MPC deadlines?
No, we're way ahead of schedule.
Are there comments or questions? This will come up again. Since we're not voting on it tonight, I just want to give you.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we'll be able to vote on it, and I'll just report that they were able to show it. If they're not able to show it, then unfortunately we'll probably have to turn it down.
Okay, nothing. If there's nothing from council, then this is the time for public comment on the items that are on the zoning committee. Any public comment on any of these? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to the Public Safety Committee.
I'd like to ask the chief to come up to report, please.
Good evening, folks. For For the month of December, your police department conducted various trainings of note. Detective Sergeant Egley, he was able to complete training, recertifying the entire department in the use of tasers, as well as some other routine training for Sergeant Madden and his canine partner, and our SRT members also. Of note, in December, Officer Michael Bach was permanently assigned to our investigations division, bringing our detective division to 2 strong. Also in December, for what I believe to be the 4th year in a row now, we collected toys and such for the North Hills Community Outreach to provide to families in need. That was very successful. We handed over quite a haul of toys for the less fortunate. Also of note, New Year's Eve, we had what you might call a SWAT situation, an SRT call-out. Ended abruptly. Fortunately, there were no officers injured or members of the public, save one. And you all have the rest of my report if you have any questions of me. Okay, thank you very much.
Do we have any comments from council? Any comments from the public? Okay, that concludes our.
Report of Public Works Committee.
Item number 1 is the Public Works Activity Report.
Good evening. You've got the report. If you have any questions about it, I'd be happy to either answer them now or get answers for you and get back to you.
How many leaves do we pick up? I don't mean like each leaf. I mean like
There are some more.
a bunch of trucks.
There are more leaves out there to be picked up. I am still getting phone calls from people that have leaves out, so we're picking them up as they call in now. We're not going out looking for them.
Great, thank you.
Item 2, review the list of streets proposed for the 2020 paving program.
I provided for you in your packet a list of recommended streets for the 2020 paving program. In conversations with Mr. Betty today, I found out that some of the work that's proposed to take place along Corporate Drive is probably going to be rather extensive and probably long-term, that would either hinder or destroy a brand-new paving job on that road. So I have offered a new list, which I believe y'all got a copy of. There are 3 streets highlighted on there, which are streets that I chose to replace Corporate Drive. The estimated cost is actually reduced slightly, about $20,000. Of course, we won't know what the actual cost is until we take bids, but the 3 streets of replacement are approximately the same square yardage of paving and the same amount of work as Corporate would have been. Corporate Drive is almost 50 feet wide, so it's a very expensive street to try to pave.
Item 3, review a request to authorize the purchase of a 10-ton dump truck chassis from Hill International Truck N.A. LLC at a purchase price of $87,943 as per CoStar's contract number 025127.
I believe you all have the updated price on that chassis. We did have to go back to the dealer and request a current price. The price that we had before was from, I believe, late August or early September of last year. There was a slight price increase as of January 1st. He is able to secure for us a chassis as long as we place an order before January 31st. If we're delayed beyond January 31st, we will probably not see a truck within the next 14 to 18 months. So I would ask that you all approve this purchase tonight, and we'll get the order placed so that we get that truck going. You also have, I believe, handed out to you today the current pricing for the body and hydraulics on the truck and for the snowplow and spreader, which I believe is going to be further discussed at the meeting later this month.
Item number 4, review a proposed ordinance to authorize the acceptance of Providence Boulevard as a town road and public right-of-way, the public stormwater system therein, and replace the performance bond guaranteeing the public improvements with a maintenance bond.
This is section of Providence from Babcock Boulevard to the cul-de-sac with a hammer.
There's what we refer to as a plan line, where it becomes a private road owned and maintained by the McCandless Crossing Development. The original development agreement, I believe, indicated that we would take ownership of the first roughly 275 feet of road as a public road, which we are now prepared to do. It's been inspected and required repairs were made, and we're ready to take it over.
It will go just past the church entrance.
Okay.
Which is part of the reason it's becoming a public road, is because it's accessing more than one property.
Item number 5, notification of bids being sought for the 2020 paving program.
With the list of roads finalized, we are ready to go ahead and go out for bid. We're prepared to do that this week. We have an ad that should be appearing in the Post-Gazette on Friday of this week for the first advertisement, and again next Friday, and then opening the bids on February 4th is our intent at this point. We'll provide the successful bidder, the low bidder, to council at the meeting in February, the first meeting in February, and we can award a contract and get that in place for hopefully for a start in April 1st.
Item number 6, notification of bids being sought for the restoration of Devlin tennis courts.
If you recall, we took bids last fall that came in somewhat higher than we had anticipated, and in addition, we received no bid for the fence work that would have been required to redo the tennis courts. Through the course of talking with one of the bidders who had put a bid in for the color coding on the new courts, he suggested a process that's similar to a micro surfacing on a street paving, which would hopefully take care of some of the cracks and do some other recolor coding. In looking at it, I just wasn't initially sure that we were going to be able to do that without removing all the asphalt and repaving it. I'm sure you've all seen the large cracks that have run through the tennis courts over the last few years. Oddly enough, we tried something before Community Day last year. We had some crushed brick in the stockyard, which was actually kind of a fine powder, and I had the guys bring it over and filled all of the cracks, and then we used a tamper to consolidate it down into the cracks. In looking at that this spring, those cracks haven't reappeared, and the material has hardened to almost a concrete-like substance in there. And I think at this point we would be safe to try just the micro surfacing and the color coding. And the price that we had for that last fall was, I think, around $50,000. It may be a little bit higher than that now, but that's a significant savings over the thought of spending $150,000 or more to take everything down and redo it, when at this point I don't think there's any reason to do that. So So I'm recommending that we go ahead and take bids for microsurfacing with a new color coating on the tennis courts and go from there and see where that goes.
May I ask, since we're checking the tennis courts on Devlin courts, were the courts checked from Wall Park?
Those were just resurfaced maybe 2 years ago. I would say that they had better be in good shape. I've not looked at them yet. I've not looked at them yet this year, but in looking at them last summer, last fall, they were in great shape.
Okay, thank you.
How long would you expect it to last if you did a complete resurfacing?
The folks that, the representative from the company that I talked to last year, they're located in New York. They suggested last year that with a minimal repair of the cracks that were in the court, which I forget exactly what they were going to use to try to repair the cracks, but they estimated probably around 5 years. And that was with their method of filling the cracks. The cracks that are out there right now are visible, but almost level with the existing surface all the way around. If they put their process in, and what they were going to do was fill the cracks with their material and then roll a fabric out over top of the cracks and put the microsurfacing on. They did say that the cracks, in doing that process, they said that the cracks would probably be visible but not obvious for up to 5 years. With the way the cracks have hardened in at this point, if they put the fabric over it and the microsurfacing, it would not surprise me if we get more than 5 years out of the resurfacing on the courts.
And how does that compare to the timeline that you would expect if we had gone with the original plan?
The courts that are in there right now, I think they were about 12 years old. The cracks began to appear probably 5 years ago. So they were only really probably 7 or 8 years old, as my memory serves me, 7 or 8 years old when the cracks started to appear. And they've continued to get larger every year. So if we've done something out there now that's keeping the water out of there and helping to seal that a little bit, I think a process that they want to use would probably give us at least 5 years, maybe more. Keeping in mind that one of the problems that we have with the tennis courts is that they do flood from time to time, and that saturates the ground underneath the tennis courts, which I think part of the effect that we're seeing is the cracks in the asphalt. So I'm really kind of thinking that no matter what we do out there, we're going to have cracks in that asphalt. But it's, I think it's worth a try with their process to see how many years we can get out of it.
Thank you. Is there any public comment?
Reports of the Services Committee.
Services Committee, item 1, Fire Marshal's report for the month of November 2019 and permit report for December 2019.
Thank you very much, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see, November, again, was another extremely busy month for the three companies. They ran a total of 108 calls. 62 of those were fire-related, 46 were medical assists. That brings us to a year-to-date of 985 calls for the three fire companies, so we're well above our normal average. We're usually topping around 700 calls, and we're well over closely. We're definitely going to breach 1,000 calls for the year. November was a good month for the false fire alarms. We collected a total of $1,350 for the false alarms to put in the sinking fund. It puts us a year-to-date of $11,150 for apparatus replacement. Out of those 108 calls. One call, just to mention, that we assisted our brothers to the north in the Pine Township area with a major commercial working structure fire that was up off of Wallace Road in Pine Township. So fortunately, there was no injuries reported by either fire or the public with that. You have any questions on the reports? If you do, I would like to take them now, or you can always notify me.
Questions from council on the report? Thank you.
Sure. One other thing I'd like to mention, if I could, Mr. Chairman, is in front of you, which you'll see here very shortly, the McCandless Emergency Services created this decal designed to alert our first responders that there could be an autistic person inside either a vehicle and or a home. We designed these so we could put them on the front doors or also on the vehicles. This decal was designed in hopes to give our first responders an extra few moments just to recognize that we may need to change our approach, whether with our speech, our mannerisms, or whatever we need to do to accommodate a autistic person, or be prepared for some abnormal social behavior. As you know, this might be hypersensitive. We might have to approach the scene with zero lights, zero sirens. We don't want to affect anything like that. The person might become physically violent. They may be non-verbal, where we may have to kind of use other forms of communication. Also, we want to make sure that the person doesn't panic and run. So in order to control this, the delivery of these stickers, we decided that in order to receive them, you must fill out what we'll refer to as a trip. There you go. A trip information program, and this is run through the McCandless Police Department. And in cooperation with the EMS, myself, and the police department, we have these trip reports that you can fill out in order to get one. We don't want anybody just to have access to these stickers and kind of abuse the system. So if you want to say anything about it.
Yeah. You folks, I think, have a copy of the trip form in front of you. We've had this for some time down at the police department. Actually, Lieutenant O'Connor came up with it years ago, and it's just for residents to give us any information they feel we should have in case of an emergency. That could be a health condition or medical condition for someone in the home, perhaps the location of a key or an alarm code, or anything that they might think that they want the police to know should we be called to their residence. So we're marrying that with this autism sticker, and we will have records of that down in the police department.
We just want the residents to be aware of the trip report as well as for these stickers, just in case that we can assist in any way. Some people may not be familiar with the program.
I have a question. Is the ambulance authority familiar with this program as well then? And so their folks are trained to respond in that way?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Great program, thank
Great.
you.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Item 2, code enforcement violation complaint statistics report for the month of November 2019. This was in the packet. Of note, I will just comment that 2019 we had more robust enforcement than 2018, and enforcement was up. Are there any questions from council on this? At this time, are there any public comment on either of these two items? Thank you.
Report of the Recreation Committee.
At this time, there is nothing to report from the Recreation Committee, so I welcome any public comment, please.
Any unfinished business? Moving on to new business. Is there a motion to approve the application of Ralph D. Sandell to acquire the vacant lot 1348-R-190 adjacent to their property on Forest Oaks Drive under the Allegheny County Vacant Property Recovery Program as adopted by the town?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We had public comment on this before, but is there anyone from council that has any comment? Is there any other public comment? Get a second chance at this. We're going to change this around a little next time and put these motions when we discuss each area of business instead of revisiting them at the end. That also helps the people who are here for that specific motion not have to wait to the end of the meeting too. All right, hearing none. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion to take action on the list of streets proposed for the 2020 paving program?
So moved.
Second.
Just to be clear, the motion would be to approve the list. It could be approve, amend, whatever your.
Motion is to approve the list of streets proposed for the 2020 paving program.
I second that.
Any comments from council? Questions, comments, or questions from citizens? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion to adopt Resolution 1 of the 2020 series, a resolution to take action on the request of McCandless Specialty GP LLC for transfer of liquor license number R18031 of Dahl's Restaurant LLC, 200 Vandura Street, Munhall, PA 15120, to its facilities located at 5300 Corporate Drive, Pittsburgh, PA 15237.
This also would be a motion to either approve or deny, depending on what you want to do. Instead of a so moved, because the take action has to be filled, essentially filled, that blank has to be filled in.
Okay, so we will receive a motion that would say you so choose to grant it or to not grant it. Is there a motion?
I move to grant it.
Okay.
I second.
Okay. Any comments or questions from anyone in council? Comments or questions from any citizens? There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion to authorize the purchase of a 10-ton dump truck chassis from Hill International Truck NA LLC at the purchase price of $87,943 as per CoStar's contract number 025-127?
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second. Okay.
Second.
Are there any questions about this? It's good that we're taking action on it so we can go ahead and get this. We need it. Any comments from any citizens? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, buying a new truck. This is the part of the council meeting where you can have a comment on anything that's not on the agenda, just general comments about anything. Are there any citizen comments at this time?
Steve Mertz, Ridge Avenue. I just have a quick comment on Mr. Rob's recommendation that we take comments in favor of the liquor board before ones that were out of favor of the liquor board. Doing something like this might have people not want to come up after they hear something out of it. If they hadn't come up beforehand, if they were in favor, hear something they don't like out of from someone who wasn't in favor, they should still be given that chance. I recommend not making people make that decision if we can in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Mertz.
Any other public comment? All right, hearing none. Is there a motion to reconvene this meeting to January 27th, 2019 at 7?
Actually, should be 2020.
Did I say 19 too?
Yeah.
Okay. This year at 7 p.m. to conduct candidate interviews for a vacant position on the Environmental Advisory Committee. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. There's also 2 positions on the Heritage Center Committee too. So if anyone is interested in applying for that, they were not filled with last year's appointments. So please, you can put in your application now if you're also interested in that. Any comments about the reconvening the meeting next week, 30 minutes early, next 2 weeks, 30 minutes early, so we can do the interviews. Okay, all right. Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn? Oh, we're reconvening, we don't have to adjourn. Okay, that's right. Great, thank you. All right, see you on the 27th. Thanks, everyone, for being here.